אילו הוציאנו ממצרים, הוציאנו ממצרים, דיינו, 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 דיינו.
In 2013, a major study of American Jews found that while only about a quarter of us regularly celebrate Shabbat, and just over half fast on Yom Kippur, almost 3/4 of Jews attend a Passover Seder annually. I think that's because the Passover Seder has got to be one of the most brilliant, inclusive, and exciting religious rituals ever created. In the words of the Haggadah, the Seder's guidebook, this night is just totally different than all other nights. What accounts for Pesach's unique hold on us? First of all, it's rooted in the simple pleasure of gathering people we love together for a good home-cooked meal. At my house, Seder means golden bowls of matzo ball soup that I've been poring over for days. It means brisket braised low and slow until it's falling off the fork. And along with the religiously required 4 cups of wine, we add a few more. Maybe it's not surprising that more people show up to feast than fast. I mean, who's going to skip this? Second, unlike many Jewish rituals, which take place in a synagogue and are led by clergy, the Seder is entirely DIY. We make it in our own homes. We lead it for ourselves. Since there are thousands of different Haggadot to choose from, no 2 Seders are ever exactly alike. Some are formal, some are relaxed, some last all night long, and some wrap up in less than an hour. Every family adds their unique touch, a tradition just for the kids, a favorite song where everybody takes a part, a secret recipe that's been passed down basically since Sinai. Third, the Seder is intentionally engaging for kids. We give the youngest child at the table a starring role by inviting him or her to lead the 4 questions. Most Seders end with a treasure hunt for a hidden piece of matzah, the afikomen, which can then be ransomed back for prizes. I was recently at a Seder that included a plague kit for every kid, with some red food coloring to turn the water in water glasses into blood, and plastic frogs that kept getting chucked at my head all night long. Finally, the Seder is rooted in one of the greatest and most dramatic stories of all time. The Exodus is so full of miracles and heroes and villains that Hollywood keeps churning out version after version of it. From the first silent Exodus epic made in 1923, up through the most recent, the completely unwatchable Exodus, Gods and Kings, that unwisely cast Christian Bale as Moses. Sorry guys, but Moses probably shouldn't be played by a guy named Christian. Let's review the details of the story. The Israelites settle in Egypt to escape a famine. A new pharaoh takes the throne who's deeply threatened by this immigrant people. He enslaves them, but their population continues to grow. Ultimately, Pharaoh begins to kill off the Israelites, condemning all male Hebrew babies to be drowned in the Nile. One child is saved, Moses, placed in a basket by his mother and sister, and discovered by an Egyptian princess who raises him in the palace as her own. When, as a young man, Moses lashes out and kills an Egyptian taskmaster who is beating a Hebrew slave, he's forced to flee his privileged position and go into exile. While there, he becomes a shepherd, until one day, tending his flock, he comes across a bush which is on fire. Out of that burning bush comes the voice of God, commanding him to return to Egypt and liberate his people. Like most great heroes, Achilles, Spider-Man, Luke Skywalker, Moses initially resists his call, but ultimately, he's forced to accept his destiny. He returns to Egypt and confronts the most powerful king in the known world with an unprecedented message: that God is on the side of justice rather than power, on the side of a weak slave people rather than the leader of a giant empire. Pharaoh naturally dismisses the suggestion as ridiculous, and it takes 10 rather gruesome plagues: blood, frogs, lice, wild beasts, cattle disease, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and ultimately the death of the Egyptian firstborn to change his stubborn mind. Once he finally relents, the Israelites escape Egypt in a great hurry, not trusting that Pharaoh won't backtrack on his word. The symbol of their hasty exit is matzah, this flat cracker that we still eat throughout the holiday, bread which has not been given time to rise. It turns out that the Israelites were right to move fast. Only a few days after their liberation, Pharaoh does change his mind and sends his army to recapture his slaves, who are trapped on the impassable banks of the Sea of Reeds. The Exodus story's climactic miracle takes place when the sea splits and the Israelites are able to pass through the waters. It's a scene that calls to mind a rebirth, a washing away of the painful past, and the beginning of something completely new. The Exodus story is not only compelling because of its intense drama and epic scale, it's so powerful because it resonates so personally in our own lives. Many of us have families who, whether in the distant past or much more recently, left behind the only home they ever knew in search of a better life. Many of us have overcome situations that have kept us down, whether a troubled home or a broken relationship or a struggle with our health. In Hebrew, the word for Egypt, Mitzrayim, means a narrow place. We all have narrow places, places that we either have or dream of someday escaping from. And we live in a society that's still far too much like Egypt, with profound economic inequality and systemic racism and many other forms of oppression that have yet to be overcome. By far, the most crucial line in the whole Haggadah is this: Bechol dor vador chayav adam lirot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa miMitzrayim. In every generation, a person is obligated to see themselves as though they have personally come out of Egypt. The Exodus isn't a story that happened to some group of people once upon a time. It's a story that repeats over and over again in history. At the Seder each year, we remind ourselves that the struggle for freedom, for ourselves and for each other, is far from finished. At the close of the Passover Seder, there's a custom of putting out a cup for Elijah the prophet. Legend says that Elijah never died. As a result, in Jewish folklore, he serves as a kind of messenger between heaven and earth. His most important job is to someday announce the coming of the Messianic era, when all people will be fully liberated from their own Egypts, and the world as a whole will become what it was always meant to be, a true promised land. Toward the end of the night, we open the door and sing a song inviting Elijah in, daring to hope that this will be the year that will see our ultimate liberation.
Eliyahu hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu hagiladi.
With my guests, I follow a Hasidic custom of putting out an empty cup instead of a full one. When we rise to welcome Elijah, I invite everyone, one by one, to take the cup and to add a splash of their own wine to it, and to express out loud a dream for the future. Getting out of Egypt and across the wilderness is going to take all of us, working together, bringing what we can. Passover is ultimately a holiday about hope. So if you've never had the chance, or it's been a long time, snag yourself an invite for next year. If you don't know anyone hosting a Seder, nearly every synagogue will offer one for the public. Or better yet, grab some friends and host this amazing DIY ritual on your own. Because the best way to the Promised Land is together. In fact, it's the only way to get there.
Ilu hotzi hotzi anu hotzi